get serious about diversity and women in this business.
I have been the moderator or a co-moderator with Jan Techman of ENR since year one.
But like, how can we develop an interest to this industry for a more diverse population?
Hey, I have some ideas and things that we can look at together.
Hi everyone, we are going to the groundbreaking Women in Construction Conference right now in San Francisco. I'm in BART, which is the subway that goes from Oakland to San Francisco. Let's go.
in the industry are talking about and worrying about. We gather feedback from attendees at each event to help shape the program for the next year by bringing together women at all stages of their career.
So how does the organization not just set a strategy, but involve people broadly in determining that strategy and then making sure that everybody's actions are aligned to that strategy? The other things, what other changes are happening, and how do we feed that into decision making so that we're making the right decisions?
Hi everyone, I am at the GWIC conference and I just met my LinkedIn friend. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi everyone, I'm Riz. I am one of the UIUC alums. It's nice to meet up a fellow UIUC alum here. So I am a project engineer that works for DPR Construction, and I'm mainly working on the medical equipment coordination and primarily working on the healthcare facilities, and it's been nice. I got my master's in civil engineering and specialized in construction engineering and management. I also took a couple of courses in the from the business school, so it has helped me a lot. And learning from specifically, there are a couple of courseworks in construction management degree, and I can see how that plays out well on the field. And
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
and good luck on your channel. I actually admire how you take time in your schedule to like work on it. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you. I am heading out for lunch. It's lunchtime.
Women are among the least likely to be promoted, with only 1 in 285 to hold an executive position. And if this does not provide any food for thought and does not trigger an emotion towards the need for change and unification as minority women,
24% intake are women. So if you take 24% and you take 30, we are somewhere between 7 and 9% of the 20 years plus workforce. And we're 51% of the population. The math doesn't work. There's not enough white men to do the work that we have to do in the next decade. If you look at what the Bureau of Labor Statistics says, 25,000 of 30,000 new jobs a year. We're only graduating 20,000. Who's going to do it? And so we have to get serious about diversity and women in this business. And that means everything from breaking open the pipeline, making it huge, and then doing the things we need to do so women stay. Thank you. Yeah, there's such.
I talked to my team about blind spots, and one of the beauties of diversity is that you have the right people on your team, then you don't have blind spots, because everyone has a key perspective that will help the whole team grow and be informed.
It's a very important discussion. We're on a journey, we've got a long way to go still, but I think discussions like today, real life stories from the heart, sharing those experiences, and the networking that happens in and around these events is really important for us all to continue to be those groundbreaking women in construction and to thrive.
This is the end of day 1 of GWIC, and this is my lovely colleague Shauna. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name is Shauna. I graduated from UC Davis in June 2021 with a bachelor's degree in civil and environmental engineering, and now I work with WanQ at Exponent as a construction consultant analyst.
What do you think about the conference today?
It was really fun. It was really great seeing like so many women in one setting.
And we also got interviewed, so maybe we'll be on TV one day. I don't know.
That was really out of the blue.
Hi everyone, this is my another lovely colleague Zohre from our team Exponent, and we're both at GWIC conference. Zohre, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Hi everyone, I had the pleasure of attending GWIC conference today with WanQ. I work with WanQ Exponent Consulting. And WanQ is a great colleague.
Thank you.
She is very helpful and she is very knowledgeable in what she does. So you have to reach out to her with very dumb questions most of the time. Yeah, I enjoyed conference. I believe it was very insightful.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of good stories. I learned about a lot of case studies. I met a lot of women leaders in construction, which was also very motivational for me.
So what is your background? What did you study?
Sure. I studied construction engineering management. I have PhD from Taiwan University, and I've been in industry for more than 10 years.
Day 2 of groundbreaking Women in Construction conference, still taking the BART this time. And if you ask if it's cold, okay? It's like 10 degrees Celsius. So I'm wearing my jacket and about to go into BART.
There were about 1,000 workers that died in job site stuff, slips, falls, electrocution, etc. And every single one of those deaths are tragic. In that same year, 5,432 construction workers died of suicide. Okay? Now this doesn't count all the other people who died from an overdose or died from the consequences of addiction. So I ask you, are you investing in psychological safety in the same way you are preventing the fatal form? And we've seen a huge uptick ever since this data became public of companies going, nope, we're not, and we need to be. This is the other report that got a lot of airplay. CDC has been ranking industry by suicide rates for the last, 7-8 years or so. And construction is either number 1 or number 2, switching places with extraction. But not too far down this list, we also have architecture and engineering. All of these industries that touch each other have very high rates of suicide. People call 911 when there's a psychological emergency. Well, who shows up? The police show up. And that doesn't always go well for our communities of color. So they are very reluctant to call emergency services when there's a mental health emergency. So that's just one of many examples. Number two, generational trauma is very real for our indigenous communities, very real for our African American communities, our refugee communities. And you don't have to experience that trauma firsthand to have it impact you tremendously from your family history and how things were dealt with, and also in your genes. A lot of people who identify as Asian have in the past really socially excluded people who live with mental health conditions. A lot of times they were put into asylums, and it was very institutionalized and very stigmatized. And so that is part, again, of that long-term history that's coming to play with a lot of people. We also have a huge history of historical trauma in our Asian communities. And of course, the recent hate crimes really brought that to life about how that happens and the impact that it has on communities. A lot of Asian Americans also experience this kind of model minority myth where the expectations of their performance and achievement are incredibly high, but there's like no room for error kind of thing that puts a lot of stress on them. Very limited cultural responsive services for our Asian American communities. And then also sometimes there's this cultural norm that strength is really around silence and self-control, and that emotionality and expressiveness is seen as weakness. And then finally, there's often a strong connection to family and community, and you don't want to bring anything that's going to give people a sense of shame or disrespect to their family.
Community live, so it was a little segregated there for us, right? So we really didn't interact with
specialist or a therapist or a social worker. That's an opportunity with our folks, just because it was such a taboo.
Hey, I have some ideas of things that we can look at together to get you through this. Yeah. So be the light, or bring the light. Because
we definitely want to make sure that we're keeping the knowledge that they're learning from, so that they're experiencing not lost about it.
Things to start. Water. I couldn't say United Nations Environmental Program.
Hi everyone, I'm here with Mindy, the co-host of this entire amazing conference. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
I would. Hi, I'm Mindy Gentile, and I'm here with WanQ, who has approached me to do my very first ever, is this a blog?
Vlog.
Okay.
YouTube.
Never done that before, so my very, very first. And I wanted to thank her for coming to Groundbreaking Women in Construction for 2022. I have been the moderator or a co-moderator with Jan Tuckman of ENR since year one. And next year, we're going to be celebrating our 20th anniversary of GWIC. So all of you out there, come on and join us next year, because we're going to have a great time. We have great content, really energizing. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
We're so inspired.
So we'll see you next year, 2023 GWIC. Thanks.
Hi everyone, we just concluded the GWIC 2022 conference. It's been so amazing. I think there are like 800 people attending, men and women. I think the biggest theme for this conference, first of all, is obviously connecting people, like because of the whole entire 2 year of pandemic and everything being virtual. This is finally in person, and we're just so happy to, network and go back to normal, even without face masks, of course, like with the comfort level. And like it just has been so amazing to be connected to more people, more women in the industry, and people just flew all across the country to come to this conference. So it's just amazing. It's my first networking event after graduation. So as a professional, I would say the second one that I definitely feel a lot about is the urgency of taking actions and the urgency of changing the structure, the culture, the infrastructure in place that have resulted in fewer diversity in the construction industry. What that means is, like, not only do we have to take action ourselves as individuals, like speaking up and like
telling people about conferences like this, or doing our own fair share of bringing other women, mentoring, things like that. But also we have to take a deeper dive about the big picture of the industry and what that means for entities, bigger entities like companies and organizations, and even the education industry in general. So like, how can we develop a more sustainable and more robust infrastructure policies in place to actually bring more women in bulk and make that a culture, not an individual incident anymore, but like, how can we develop an interest to this industry for a more diverse population, not just women, you know, people of color, people from different backgrounds, because it has been so male dominant that the culture itself doesn't allow other people, and the structure in place doesn't allow other people to come in, and it's hard for us to, you know, squeeze ourselves in. And so that's what we mean by that. And I'm really happy that we are talking about this. I'm really happy that a lot of the things are backed by data, backed by statistics, and backed by real research people and organizations and companies developing tangible, practical tools and programs to bring more women and emphasize on the support aspect and the development aspect, the leadership aspect of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that is my main takeaway, but of course there are so many more components to it. For example, we talked about mental health. That was an amazing session, and there are also breakout sessions which involves leveraging your stereotypes and women in energy, things like that. So it has been definitely amazing.